Good evening. We are on the road again, this time in Yukon, Northwest Territories. The community has been hosting the Yukon Assembly this week and celebrating a big moment in history, the 20th anniversary of the Yukon Agreement. We'll have more on that story later in the show, but first, the news. Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts in Yukon, Northwest Territories. And we begin tonight in the Northwest Territories, where residents of Fort Resolution have differing ideas on what to do with unmarked graves. The graves were recently identified on Mission Island near the community. Some see identifying the graves as a vital step towards healing. Others want them left alone. While the community decides what to do, the question remains, who do the graves belong to? Carla Ulrich reports.
Mission Island was once home to St. Joseph's Mission School, where Indigenous children from across the north were sent. The island was also a gathering place for community events and a busy stopping point for travelers during the fur trade. Members have long known about unmarked graves in the area. The community began the search several years ago, in part to find answers about the past, but also to find healing for the future. For one Yukon First Nation member, it's about truth-telling. She says it's important to know what happened to those who went to the school but never came home, while still honoring their culture's deep respect for the dead.
Culturally, when somebody passes, we don't like to disturb them. But at the same time, if they're not where they should be, at the end of the day, families are missing a part of themselves.
But not everyone agrees the graves or their contents should be further disturbed, even if it's for forensic examination. Some residents believe the graves are long-known community burial sites.
I don't think it has anything to do with residential school myself, but it is an old grave site, and it's known by everybody in the community for years. I like them to leave it alone. Let their souls rest in peace.
As for what's next, the archaeologist in charge says that information is not for the public yet. Any findings will be presented to the community at a meeting this fall. Next steps will be decided from there.
It's really important to remember that there are people who still live here and they have to endure, not just this painful history, but they're the lasting impression of what's happened here.
Calche says the project team includes other archaeologists, members of the Yukon First Nation community, and students. The investigation is an Indigenous-led collaborative effort, with community members collecting elder testimony, conducting interviews, and gathering archival records, all of which will eventually be combined with the field findings to piece together the whole story. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Resolution.
The Yukon government has taken a major step to establish its first ever health authority. 7 people were appointed as board members last Friday to launch Sho Kwaha Health and Wellness Center, Yukon. The new authority will collaborate with Yukon First Nations to address systemic racism, cultural safety, and inclusive care. A Vantukwitchin citizen and longtime public official was appointed as chair. Stephen Mills served on the committee that wrote the authority's guiding legislation. Mills says the Yukon has a fragmented health care system. The health authority will attempt to unify it.
It is our goal or purpose to ensure that people can feel comfortable with accessing service. People, in some cases in rural Yukon or even in Whitehorse, may find that the frustration that exists at times prevent some of them from actually seeking the services. Some people feel uncomfortable with the reception that they may receive and the types of questions that are asked. I think that what I envision for those that are receiving services is that they will feel safe within the system. And also that they will feel respected.
The health authority, which is called Sho Kwaha Health and Wellness Yukon, that board will start setting priorities, and it's aiming to launch the authority by 2027 or early 2028. In Nunavut, the Department of Health is going on tour. It wants to hear from residents about the territory's new Mental Health Act. The new act is set to be implemented next year after reaching royal assent in 2021. Changes to the act include the creation of a mental health review board, the inclusion of Inuit organizations, and a requirement to report suicide attempts. The acting director of mental health and addiction says the new legislation is a better fit for Nunavut.
This legislation really looks at how do we make sure to inform the family what's happening to their loved ones. And I think that's the most exciting thing on the day-to-day for people, is to be able to know, like, you know, my child is struggling, they need support, and somebody's telling me what's happening.
Information sessions will be held across Nunavut, starting in Cambridge Bay on Monday. To Yellowknife now, where an encampment near the Prince of Wales Northern Heritage Centre remains in place. Unhoused occupants set up makeshift tent homes there earlier this summer. Now a lawyer for the residents says their basic needs are not being met, and the NWT government's plan for the approaching winter is unclear. Avery Zingle has that story.
Encampments like this are all around the city of Yellowknife. Beside the museum, residents say between 15 and 30 people are sleeping here each night. They say they're here because shelters don't quite meet their needs. They say they can't stay with their spouses or bring their pets. The Northwest Territories government says it will not support encampments.
That's pretty petty of them. What's a couple $1,000 to them to provide portable toilets, clean sanitary, like places where we could wash our hands, wash our face.
One portable toilet was delivered to the museum this week by an anonymous donor. But Carl Gardland says they need at least 2 more. He says if the government won't support encampments, they shouldn't mind if people build winter structures. The Northwest Territories government says it's focused on the people in encampments, but not encampments themselves.
We've been working on that, trying to find ways to increase transitional housing, allowing for those folks that are ready to move to transitional housing to free up space within shelters.
Tordiv says workers are at these encampments regularly to assess how many spaces for shelter they might need this winter. Peter Adorian is a lawyer for the encampment. He says the Northwest Territories government might distance itself from encampments, but it won't absolve them of liability if there's fires, accidents, or fatalities.
It's disturbing to me that the government, despite having me reach out to them several times to play ball with us and to support the encampment, they've essentially folded their hands and said, no.
Yellowknife city officials say the Northwest Territories government has not yet presented its transitional plan. Dorian says that plan can't come soon enough. Avery Zingle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The first week of the Canada Summer Games in St. John's, Newfoundland wraps up tomorrow. Team Nunavut's beach volleyball teams played their final pool stage matches today. Team Nunavut's men's team played the Yukon, and the women's team played the Northwest Territories.
Another fantastic serve from Sheila.
Team Nunavut lost both matches in straight sets. The women's team suffered a heavy loss to Team NWT, and the men's team kept it close. They lost by a combined 13 points, losing the second set 21-17. Both teams are now headed to the consolation bracket and will play their final matches tomorrow. Nunavut's basketball teams are also playing their consolation bracket matches tomorrow. To Team Yukon now, where women's beach volleyball games times were left up in the air due to wildfire smoke.
They're back on. We just found out last night that we were going to play this morning, and there's no spectators allowed, which is really disappointing because we know Team Yukon would have had our back cheering us on, but it's better than not playing, so can't complain.
Yukon's rugby teams finished their inaugural Canada Summer Games yesterday. The women played Newfoundland, then PEI, and the men's team played Manitoba and PEI. On the water, Mason Perry and Tycho Roy Jelena finished second in the canoe and kayak 200-meter race. Zoe Bells made the 100-meter breaststroke final, and Mallory Horton made the B final for the 200-meter butterfly. Sailing is postponed due to the smoke. As the games continue, a new logistical question has popped up. How will everyone get home if they're booked on Air Canada? The airline is already canceling flights in anticipation of a lockout or strike by flight attendants starting Saturday. Team Nunavut says the Canada Summer Games organizers have arranged charter flights for them. It's a good plan, as Jamie Strachan tells us. Air Canada and its flight attendants appear to be far from reaching a deal.
I'm just feeling really anxious. I'm nervous.
Letitia Halbadell has to get home to Toronto from Taipei, and quickly. She has a final exam to write.
I'm just really worried that if I don't get back on time and I can't take this, I'm not going to be able to graduate.
For thousands of Air Canada passengers hoping to get home or take a long-anticipated holiday, a looming job action has turned plans upside down, including this father who hoped to see his daughter compete in the Canada Games.
It's extremely nerve-wracking because we have no clue if we're going to be able to make it.
Without a deal between Air Canada and its more than 10,000 flight attendants, a strike or lockout will begin early Saturday morning. The airline already canceled some international long-haul flights today. Friday, 500 more flights will be canceled, affecting more than 100,000 customers.
On Saturday morning, we'll be completely grounded. We expect that will affect 130,000 customers a day, including 25,000 Canadians a day that we usually bring home from abroad who risk to be stranded.
The airline says customers can change travel plans without a fee and will receive refunds if flights are canceled. Beyond that, few options.
Unfortunately, this being the peak of the summer travel season, our ability to rebook customers on other airlines will be very limited.
The two sides appear deeply divided, each side accusing the other of making unsustainable offers.
I'm really sorry about the questions that we have not been able to answer. We'll stop here. Thank you.
Flight attendants interrupting the airline's morning press conference. The major sticking point, wages. CUPE says many flight attendants struggle to buy food and pay rent.
We believe our flight attendants deserve a wage they can live with and to change this industry into a career.
The two sides are currently not speaking, meaning there could be major inconveniences ahead for those slated to fly on Canada's largest airline. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
In the Yukon, Air Canada flights from Whitehorse to Vancouver are not at risk of being cancelled. That's because they're operated under Air Canada's Jazz, which is under a different union. Flights between Yellowknife and Edmonton or Vancouver are also operated under Air Canada Jazz. But if you have a connection in southern Canada, that leg could be cancelled. Meanwhile, Canadian North says it's speaking with Air Canada to offer support. Canadian North says any passengers with connecting flights that are booked on a single ticket are entitled to help from the airline with rebooking tickets if their flight is disrupted. If any flights are booked on a separate ticket and end up getting disrupted, the other airline is not required to help. Calm Air's CEO says about 5% of the airline's passengers may be impacted. Let's get an update now on those wildfires in Newfoundland. Thousands of people are under evacuation orders. Many more are on high alert. Karen Pauls checks in on how some evacuees are coping in Newfoundland and Labrador.
I assume you mean using maybe potential helicopters or things like that?
Jerry Rogers and Peg Norman are listening to the province's daily wildfire briefing.
Yeah. Specifically for forest fires.
Known in the community as former NDP politicians and documentary makers, they're now also evacuees of the Kingston Fire on the Avalon Peninsula, about 90 minutes drive from St. John's. And they're hearing for the first time the damage to their communities.
Around 100 structures, 100 homes that have been lost.
I mean, the hard thing is that people don't know. I mean, we're getting information, we're not getting specific information.
Are people from our community and seniors
who are sleeping on cots and have been sleeping on cots in a big school.
They know they're lucky. They bought this RV one day before they were evacuated, never expecting they'd have to live in it.
Oh my God. We were driving south from our community, not sure where we were going to go. The whole hill is just puffs of smoke, and you can see how close it's getting.
They believe their house is safe, but they know of friends who have lost their homes and businesses.
So we know that the fire is growing. We know that more homes are being lost. And there's a lot of people who are so afraid. And then a lot of people that are angry.
3,000 people along this coast have been evacuated because of the Kingston fire, and another 13,000 are on alert.
And this one now that's destroying the North Shore is number 12. This is not normal. Now, our fire, I firmly believe that it was started by an arsonist, but it's been abetted by climate change. We need to seriously look at how our actions are affecting climate.
Arson, not just a concern here. In St. John's, police have charged a 20-year-old man with arson and fined him $150,000 for allegedly starting a string of brush fires in the city Tuesday night.
I'm just shocked and surprised that someone would do something like that in any day. But given the situation we're in right now.
Dealing with the unthinkable by focusing on what needs to be done.
What we're trying to do is sort of stay in the moment and say, okay, what's happening now? What can we do now? How can we help now?
Evacuees say they're worried about the future and their ability to rebuild. But for now, the focus is on surviving and supporting each other. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Belleville Beach, Newfoundland.
Take a voyage with me to the vast, remote, most extreme place on Earth.
For many, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Where the effects of climate change are intensifying.
The poles are a very rapidly changing place.
And geopolitical cracks threaten peace and stability.
Do you think there's a security concern?
I definitely do.
Experience the historic all-Canadian mission. CBC in Antarctica. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Want to get the most out of CBC News? Use the app or cbcnews.ca for live breaking news on the stories that matter to you. Whether it's local, national, or around the world, turn to CBC News.
It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? I think we can explain.
About that with Andrew Chang.
Although the NBA currently is flooded with Canadian players, this was not a reality.
A new immigration law.
This story is directly tied to all those families who made a brave choice to come to this country.
My favorite word,
tariff. How seriously are you taking this threat?
It's the uncertainty that's the biggest issue.
Canada, we got you.
Elbows up!
This is the last day of the Clichon Assembly in Betchacon NWT. Citizens from across Clichon lands arrived in the community on Sunday, many by canoe, to attend the gathering. They are also celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Clichon Agreement. There's been lots of business this week, including the swearing in of 3 young people as members of the Clichon Assembly. Today, the Assembly was scheduled to approve the Clichon government audited financial statement and wrap up on other official business. I'm joined now by the Grand Chief of the Clichon Nation, Jackson Laferdy. Thank you so much, Merci, for being here.
Merci, Megan.
So it's 20 years of the Clichon Agreement. I wonder if you can just reflect on the past 2 decades for me.
The 20 years anniversary obviously has been reflective of the elders' vision during the negotiation back in 1992. Even prior to that, our elders have always wanted to be self-sufficient and not to rely on our government. And they want us to take control of decision-making power, no longer of this colonialism. And so we want to have bring back our power, bring back our lawmaking authority. So those are some of the discussions that we've shared in the past with our elders, and continue to carry that forward. So we're here today carrying their vision and their dreams forward. And arriving with the canoes after marking 20 years in the making, trails of our ancestors. We have so many canoes that came in. It's just a life experience. And coming into the community with surrounding Clinchon Nation and then visitors as well. This is a time of gathering of our Clinchon citizens within Clinchon Mofiga de Nitle citizens, also those are residing in a southern jurisdiction as well. Opportunity for them to ask us questions, give us advice and recommendations, how we can improve our government. It's been 20 years in the making. And we say, well, 20 years, we're still like a baby step. And JNWT has been in work since 1960s. And they're still drawing down programs from the federal government. And we're at that state where we've took over some early childhood. And now we're focused on housing and infrastructure. And those are departments that's been established. So gradually, we're taking over programs and on the land program as well. We want to make it even more exciting for young individuals to get involved. And because our constitution, our land claim consists of preserving our language, also our cultural way of life. So that entails with what we do on the land. But housing is a big factor. It's a huge issue. And Bishopcombe is the biggest indigenous community in the Northwest Territories. A lot of challenges, but challenges create more opportunities for us as a nation, as leaders, to come together, to come up with some solutions that we can drive this forward next 4 years. And part of that is, as you probably heard in our legislature, we talked about addiction. Bishopcombe, we're just on a highway system, and it's real challenging dealing with that. At the same time, we're all coming together. Our citizens are giving us ideas, recommendations, how we can improve our livelihood. Our young generation are lost in the system, but at the same time, how can we get them back on track? So those are some of the areas where, we're taking over education program, education file from feds and territorial. And so we're in the midst of that. So a lot of things are on the go last 20 years. But this fall, October, we're going to be developing a mandate next 4 years. Based on what we've heard from the general public, Clinchon citizens, carrying that message forward in the fall time, develop a mandate that will have a handprint of all Clinchon citizens and start working on it. And I just want to congratulate those newly elected young council members from Okatee, and of course Bertha Rebeesca, first ever elected female chief for Bishopcombe. Congratulations to her, and history in the making again. We've celebrated Gamete and Wickwitee last 4 years ago. Now we're celebrating Bishopcombe, a new female chief as well. So a lot of things are happening. Change is coming, and we're ready for change, I believe.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Grand Chief Massey. I really appreciate your time today, and there's so much to look forward to in the next 20 years.
Yeah, same here. Looking forward to the next 4 years of a new government. And whatever happens with the Grand Chief election tomorrow, there needs to be a set, targeted initiative to deal with our community challenges. So I'm looking forward to creating opportunities and working on these with solutions going forward.
Absolutely. Massey.
Merci, Joe.
That is Clinchon Nation Grand Chief Jackson Laferdy, and we do have another guest. We'll just get her in right now. Welcome, Chief Bertha Rebeesca Zo. You're the Bishopcombe Chief. The Grand Chief just mentioned you were the first female elected chief of Bishopcombe, and we had you earlier on the show talking about that. But I want to start somewhere different. This is your first assembly as chief. So how has it been to host citizens from across Clinchon lands in Bishopcombe?
Well, Bishopcombe, as Grand Chief said, is a very large community, and it takes a whole team of people to organize and get ready for hosting such a huge event. And we're also going to be having a hang game tournament this weekend to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Clinchon government and the Clinchon agreement. So it takes a lot of effort and coordination and work by a team of dedicated people and staff, and that, yeah. So the planning has been in the works for quite a while.
Yeah, we've been here on Sunday and today, and just seeing the number of people kind of in the yellow vests moving around, setting things up has been incredible. Of course, there's been a lot of business this week as well. So as chief, what are some of your priorities coming out of this assembly for Betcha?
Well, for Betcha, as I said earlier in my first interview, the whole issue of addiction, mental health issues, especially drug-related addictions, is still a priority, and also homelessness and housing and community security and safety is still the priorities for Betcha. We do have an epidemic. It is a crisis. Housing is a crisis, and so those are huge priorities. There are other priorities, for example, improving business opportunities for a lot of Clinton citizens in Betcha that want to start businesses, and to create more economic opportunities like that for Betcha is still one of the other priorities, and a citizen-centered approach to services. Yeah, and so a lot of networking and coordinating amongst all the agencies and groups in Betcha and Yellowknife too. I am going to be sitting down with the mayor to talk about how we could collaborate on a bunch of initiatives, because Yellowknife and Betcha are close, and we support Yellowknife tremendously in economic opportunities. In our money goes to Yellowknife basically, and so we need to make sure that we work together, especially addressing the number of Clinton citizens we have in Yellowknife, and the homelessness in Yellowknife is also something that we need to work on, because a lot of the people there are our own people, and so we need to make sure that we service them as well and help them out, and so those continue to be still priorities.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief, for your time, Masi. I really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to the next 20 years as well.
Yeah, that's the question that I'm going to be posing to the people. What do we see Betcha looking like in the next 10, 20, 50 years? And how do we make sure that we do what is best for our people and work together to improve the living conditions and social conditions of our people, and to improve the education levels and that. And so, yeah, so we're looking forward to the challenges, and I love challenges for sure.
Masi, thank you so much for your time.
Masi.
Unusual helicopters at the Eric Nielsen Airport this week have been catching the attention of Whitehorse residents. CBC reporters counted 1 Chinook and 6 Apache helicopters Wednesday afternoon. According to the U.S. military, the aircraft are unrelated to the summit taking place on Friday in Alaska between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. A public affairs officer with the 16th Combat Aviation Brigade told the CBC that the aircraft are in the Yukon as part of a regular training exercise between Whitehorse and the military base in Fairbanks, Alaska. And that is Northbeat for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts in Betcha NWT. Have a good night.